Hi, this is Caleb Owens with the Insurance Experience. And today I'm with Tristan Miles again. Tristan has just started a new company. It's Archetype Public Adjusting. Is that correct, Tristan?
Archetype Claims Consulting.
Oh, wow. Okay. Archetype Claims Consulting. This is so much
Yeah.
more professional. I like it. So tell me about this, Tristan, and tell me about, I guess, what made you start this?
So back to the claims consulting part, that is why we are starting it. That's why it's named Archetype Claims Consulting, is because we're focusing more on the consulting side of things and navigating through a claim, educating our policyholders, our clients, whoever they might be. We are providing that education throughout the claims, whether that be appraisals, supplementing, public adjusting, expert witnessing, or even just providing claim support for contractors. Now, just to be very clear, we're hired by the contractors to let them know
Wow.
this is how things should be set up. So when they send that report to a carrier, they're basically setting everything up the way the insurance carrier would like them to do.
And so
So,
it's more likely to go through without problems. Is that correct?
yes. So,
Wow.
like a full photo report, a full estimate, code breakdown, all that stuff. So, everything that they would have access to, we're sending that to them, letting them know this is the packet, this is what you want to send to the insurance company, and this is how you go forward. Now, if there's any hiccups that come back, we're supporting the in the background, but we're hoping that this insurance claim goes through with the contractor given the routes of success. A lot of the times you'll see on claims that come to me, they've been filed for the wrong date of loss or the wrong peril, or
Hmm.
there was confusion, misfiling. A lot of the issues that we see that stop a claim entirely, and it's something so simple as the beginning. If you don't set up the claim for success, there's a chance that it might not get approved. It's
Like
very,
your buttons on your shirt. If you get the first button wrong, doesn't matter what you do after that, it's always wrong.
it's always wrong. And that's the thing, is if you can get a denial letter and all these people are like, oh my gosh, it's a denial again. A lot of people don't read further. It's
Hmm.
a denial. Yes, that's what it's supposed to look like, but that's not what it says. It says that there might have been damage, but it wasn't attributed to the same date of loss that you think it was. Okay. We can walk that back. Okay, what date of loss do we think that it would be? What's the next best option? So there's a lot of routes that claims can take. Not every claim needs a public adjuster or an attorney, whatever it might be. But
Sure.
even if there's a claim that comes in and I don't think that I can do anything for them, I might be able to, okay, we've got things that we got to check off before you can even think about an attorney. But then I'll talk to them about an attorney and what that means going forward. So more so just being their partner
Wow.
throughout the claim and making sure that they're secure in this whole process. So if it's a claim that needs supplementing, we'll help you make those supplements. If you have a claim that needs a public adjuster, we also do that. Appraisals, expert witnessing, everything.
Wow.
Um, the next thing that we're going to be tiptoeing into is pre-inspections, making sure that before a storm has even occurred, that
Wow.
clients have appropriate policies, making sure that they have coverages that are going to cover them, making sure that they're aware of what their deductible is going to be when a loss does happen. We're in global warming, it's going to happen.
Right. So that's great. That pre-loss inspection. That's a great service. I think and you do this free of charge, I take it.
So the pre-inspections, those are charged just
Oh,
because
wow.
there's no loss. We're going through more than just your property. So we'll do the inspections, the policies, making sure that if you have warranties, if you, let's say it's a commercial place, we'll also talk about leak reporting, making sure that you have maintenance on that, making sure that you have a contractor that does active maintenance on it. These are all the things that go wrong in a claim:
Yeah.
misinstallation, or they didn't do repairs when they should have. This will make sure that they are doing those repairs every twice a year, making sure that they're keeping these warranties valid, making sure that everything is ready for a claim whenever it does come time. And then it's just as simple as, here's the damages, here's everything. We've done our underwriting inspection. I'm going to call it an underwriting inspection, but We've done the pre-damage inspection, so we know what this looked back before, and now we know after. So if there was any old damages, we're not asking
Right.
for that. We're asking for the new damages. But we're just trying to make this more of an offensive line more than I feel like when there's claims, there's so much friction because you're always on the defensive side. And
Hmm.
you can't forget that these adjusters are also trying to make a paycheck. And there's
Right.
sometimes the coverage just isn't there. And if they don't
Right.
have coverage, then it's not a claim. And that's, I would rather tell someone that hard conversation before going down that path and then saying, okay, but here's other options you can do. You can do some repairs to your roof. You can maybe do, there's options to extend the life of your roof if you need it. Or let's look at a retail option and new insurance. If something, there's more options than just going through the insurance claim blind. You can have somebody help you. You can have a game plan, and it should be quicker at that point. If there's no objections, we're going to know if there are objections right at the front gate because we're going to tell you this is the insurance company that they have, this is the coverage that they had, and we'll list out all the reasons why you probably could do a repair, or if that is something, or if it's not completely ruined from a storm. But if it is, we're saying, okay, this is how much code coverage they have. This is code coverage items. This is their estimate. This is what things should cost. Here's their letter of intent to complete the work from their contractor. And it just keeps things moving down the line. Even when contractors have problems with their cash flow, it's because of these claims and not receiving that money on the back end. But if you're always moving along with the job, okay, roof is completed, release that. Gutters are completed, release
Right.
that. So it's going to keep things a little bit more quick on track, a little bit quicker, making sure that people are in and out of the claims system as quickly as possible. Not everything's going to be perfect. There's still going to be those one-offs, but theoretically, I'm hoping that we can reduce a lot of that time in the claims pipeline, especially just the waiting period.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. That's a great service. I really think that's huge. And that if you can get people to go ahead and sign up, but that relates to a lot of other calls I've done, is that usually whenever the storm is hit and you've got damage, it's too late. It's too late. You can have a public adjuster in there, but if you didn't have the right coverage to begin with, um, it's really hard to go in there and do anything. It's like, all right, this is after the fact now. This pre-loss inspection is amazing in the sense that you can go in there and say, you document everything as well. I presume saying, okay, at this point in time, this roof was in this condition. It was in, I want to say pristine condition, but it was a 5-year-old roof in serviceable condition. And you document everything. You make sure that their coverage is good. Sounds like you do a lot of services for that money. That is great to have. And then, of course, like you're saying, after the incident happens, after there's a storm or something in the nature, then you're going in there and the whole process should be a lot smoother because you've got all your documentation in place. There's something else I talked about with other people. Podcasts is, I'm probably going to butcher this, but it's documenting all your personal items, the contents.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't know about contents. They don't know, myself included. I'm not putting everyone else out there. You don't really tally everything up. Okay, laptops, TVs, different things like that. And you don't really add up how much money that is. And there's a lot of people, probably 99% of people or more, that don't have a list tallied up of exactly what items they have.
Mhm.
And so you should not only keep a list, but you need to keep documentation. That 60-inch TV or whatever it is, maybe bigger now, that you have a documented receipt, date of purchase, and you turn that into your carrier, showing that, hey, yes, I did purchase this. Yes, it did cost X number of dollars. And you turn that into your carrier so that they know, they're aware of it at advanced date. And then, of course, I would certainly keep a copy for yourself as well, just in case something happens. But how many people probably even do this? This has got to be incredibly rare.
I will say that I will every so often I will go around my house and take a video of so like everything I'll just take like a 30-second video around my house. So at a bare minimum do that.
Mhm.
But If you've never cataloged Q-tips, that's a different thing. But the
Yeah.
United Policyholder online, I think it's like UPH, they have a whole list of contents that people most likely have. So I'm very grateful for that. But I've even had to go through people's Facebook pictures just to see like around their house. Okay, I saw that
Wow.
you, it's crazy. Like you can go think about all the places that kind of keep your records. So your Sam's Club, your Amazon, if you have like even Lululemon, they remember your sizes, what you bought, when you bought it. So all that stuff, you can get a good amount of it. Even if you go to Target a lot, I get a list of what I bought at Target when I'm done at Target. So if
Wow.
you have a lot of that stuff, that's a really good resource to use. But the UPH sheet where it has like a full template of everything that you would possibly expect in your house, from every bedroom down to paper clips and pens, things that you don't think are going to add up, but they do very quickly. I would I definitely always recommend people to go through your house at least twice a year. You get new
That's what
stuff.
she said. That's correct. And I never think about these types of things. And I'm sure that a lot of people don't. It's probably just for you. You just get in a habit of doing it, correct? Like you said, like every so many months or half a year or
So
so, you
every
just,
time I've done it, it was because like a storm was coming in to
okay, you're smart. You're thinking.
yeah, so I've gone around my house and my husband will grab the kids and I know that last time we did it, we had a tornado coming into town. And so it was like he was grabbing the kids, throwing them in the basement, like grabbing supplies just in
Yeah.
case. And I ran around the house and was like, this is the one. It was a tornado that hit right after the big tornadoes in December, right before Christmas last year.
Mhm.
And then it came and hit us, and I was like, it's gonna level our house. So I went around everything and made sure that I had interior, exterior, everything that I would need just prepared for it. But I definitely always recommend you do it either if there's sirens blowing currently or if you think about it every 2 times a year. But I've done it every twice a
Probably a
year.
lot less stressful if you just think about it twice a year instead of running around the house. Oh my God, there's a tornado coming. That's
Yeah,
probably stressful in a
yeah.
time to try to document things. But
I don't recommend it, but I will say that I've done it
yeah.
every time.
I was talking to some restoration companies in Chicago
Mhm.
area, and they were telling me about the storms and that for them, they think about things a bit differently than most people. Their storm season, or I'm sorry, fire season for
Mhm.
them is that's how they make their money. And they know when fires kick off. They know whenever the weather changes, they know all these different things and they can set a watch to it. They know exactly when these fires are going to light off. And a lot of it comes down from people whenever the weather changes from warm to cold, or should say fall, things start getting cold. That's when people fire up their boilers or their especially in the northern states, right? You have these like oil boilers, right? You fire
Mhm.
those things up. And if they've not done their maintenance on those and clean those properly, they have a lot of fires. And it usually comes from that time of season every year if there's fires. And fires are really bad in the sense of a tornado, you at least had a warning like, okay, there's sirens going on. Probably better get in the basement. With fire, you may not have anything. You may have no clue at all, and it just burns down the entire house. And you've lost all your records. If you've had any kind of bank records checks and all kinds of things that you've lost. So it's a really, obviously, these are really bad, and it takes a long time to get back into your house because they're literally rebuilding it from the ground up. So yeah, this is when contents really comes into play because then you're like, okay, I've lost everything. What do I have? People can't think clearly after that type of incident. They can't go back and be like you were describing, going through Facebook
Yeah.
postings like, okay, I can see you had a laptop in this one. that's
Yeah.
that's not a good way to do it.
It's the worst way to do it. But I had a client, she's like, I don't have anything. And the other thing is make sure that you're continually looking at your contents on your policy because a lot of people are underinsured for their contents. When you think about it, $75,000, $100,000, that's a lot of money. I could replace a lot of stuff with $100,000. But if you lose everything,
Hmm.
you might not be able to buy everything back. So that is another thing that I always tell people is, one, do your inventories, which I can tell you probably no one ever does.
Right.
Um,
Right. Yeah.
but at least just keep yourself on track. Just if there's anything you can do, a bare minimum, a video once a year throughout your house. Please don't make me go through all your receipts on Sam's Club, Costco. And if you do have to get desperate, I've went through we went through bank accounts. Okay, this is your Target. How much did you
Yeah.
spend at Target when you were immediately displaced from your home? Okay, that's all stuff that we're going to put together here. Yeah, I am not a huge fan of fire claims, but it's definitely one that always pulls at my heartstrings because you want to help
Yeah.
those people. It's
Yeah.
just, you have no idea how to tell them, like, this is going to be losing your house. You would have thought was the worst day of your life, but like literally the time between it and explaining that your valuables might not be as valuable to somebody else as they are
Oh,
to
yeah. Yeah. We
that
were
is
talking about that. Yeah. Yeah. Just a few days ago with that same thing is how do you replace some watch or something
yeah,
like that? Something that these people value is like no amount of money can replace. And so then the insurance carriers, okay, we'll give you X number of dollars. Of course, they're going to be disappointed. They value it as this is like no amount of money could replace this. And we were talking as well about like jewelry and things like that. Jewelry is something that she was saying that you need to really make sure you have adequate coverage on because
itemize them.
that
Yep.
too. And because people don't necessarily think, okay, especially if it's over a course of years and years, which is typical how you accumulate things. And I'm sure this goes with a lot of other contents, is that you're not necessarily thinking about how much you have because you bought it over the course of 5 years.
Yep.
And so you may have like her example was a $10,000 ring. You may have $7,500 in coverage. How could something like that happen? But it makes a lot more sense to me as if you started out with $3,000 or $4,000, $7,500 was more than enough. But then over the course of several years, you accumulated $15,000 in jewelry. And
Yeah.
then whenever you have a loss, you're going and trying to say, hey, I need coverage for this. And the insurance carriers, we will cover you up to this limit. And then after that, you're on your own.
I had a client that had a water loss, and those Louis Vuitton purses, like, that's another thing that you guys need to make sure that we're itemizing is these high-end bags. But this water loss that I worked, she had 2 purses, Louis Vuitton weekender bag. So one, they're about the same size. One is a standard one, probably
Mhm.
around $15 to $3,000, okay? The other one was probably in the same range when they purchased it 10, 15 years ago. This
Wow.
was a Takashi and Kanye collaboration bag, and since
Okay.
the artist has passed, this bag has appreciated in value astronomically. If you wanna go buy it
Wow.
today, I think it's $60,000 for a purse.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
So, this water damaged it, and I believe the policy said something to the degree of we may only pay up to certain amount on furs, jewelry, and purses, and I was like, "Oh, this one purse exceeds that whole thing." There's making sure that if you have something like that, your collectible items, even though it wasn't as much as it is now, if there is items that you think have appreciated in value, get them
Sure.
appraised. Um,
Right.
the other problem is once you have water damage something, yes, it's still there. You can still pick it up. You can still, but there was surface mold to it. There was the leather had been damaged from the water staining. So was it still a Louis Vuitton bag? Yes, but it's no longer going to resale as good as it would have, or it's not
Sure.
worth its value. And there was also the other option of like, the insurance company now wants to take that item because
Really? Okay.
they can salvage those items too. So
Hmm. Didn't know
if,
that. Huh.
if there's an emotional attachment to it, then you might not
Oh,
claim it.
wow. Yeah. Wow.
There's some things that you have to make sure if you have something that is worth a lot of money, or if you think it might be worth a lot of money, get it appraised
Hmm.
and make sure it's itemized on your insurance policy. Even if it's, I think like most wedding rings are like up to $2,000. I cannot remember the last time I've seen someone purchase a ring for under $2,000.
Sure.
So if you have a 2 carat ring or something like that, make sure it's insured under your policy
Right.
and you won't have any issues. But if you lose that diamond in there or something like that, not going to be covered.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. If you don't mind, tell me more about Archetype. Tell me more about what you guys do in your consulting work. I want to
Mhm.
know more about that.
Okay. So Archetype Claims Consulting, we've got a team of public adjusters. We have a couple of assistants here, and our biggest goal is to have claim efficiency and be your claims partner, regardless of where the claim is in its path line. So if you are thinking about filing a claim or you have already filed a claim, maybe your claim got denied, we can have a talk and see if that was a valid claim and you should have been afforded coverage. And if the answer is yes to that, then we'll talk about the pathways that might be the best for success and the quickest. So that way you can get your replacement done as quickly as possible. So whether that be appraisal on an all state claim, because there's just a little bit of a pricing discrepancy. You don't
Hmm.
need a public adjuster on that. We don't need to take the full fee on that.
Wow.
It's going to be a flat rate. And regardless of the outcome, which I mean, we're not going to jump into something that we don't think is going to win. But if we think that there's a higher rate of success for appraisal and it's ultimately going to save the homeowner more money, we're going to go down that route.
Sure.
Um, if there's a time where what's like these water losses or a big claim where they just need help checking off the boxes to get to an attorney. Let's say they're putting together their contents list, their ALE, all that stuff. We'll help put that all together, make sure that they've done everything that they needed to do for their policy. And then if that's an attorney thing, then we'll pass it along to an attorney. But we're
Wow.
making sure that whatever the path a claim needs to take, we're setting it up for success, or we're making sure that it's a quick in and out with us and getting you to a more direct path for success or for
Sure.
payment. Another thing is that we'll look at pre-inspections. So if this is going to be more towards like our landlords or multi-property owners, our investors, even mortgage lenders, people like that. We're also looking at pre-inspection. So if you're looking at acquiring an apartment complex, let us come and do a full claim review. Let's see if there was a claim, if there should have been a claim, because a
Wow.
lot of the times when these investors buy apartment complexes, the most expensive part is the roof.
Sure. Yeah.
So we'll make sure that if there was a date of loss, that there might be hail. Okay, we'll say we might want to go look out there. We'll run a drone, whatever it might take, to see if there's any damages that might be attributed with a recent storm date. And if it's a yes or no, whatever it is, we'll direct them in the right path. But then that's something that they can either put into escrow or it's at least known about during the purchase rather than after the purchase, after the roof has failed, then now you're trying to work back.
Right.
It just
That
doesn't
makes
work out that well.
exactly.
So it's just an extra layer of protection, making sure that if you're putting millions of dollars into a new investment, that making sure that it's going to be a sound one. And that way you can immediately start taking rent or income or whatever you're taking from that, but making sure that you're not putting more millions of dollars into it just to fix it up and maybe it'll be okay. Another thing that I'm seeing with these apartment complex owners, the policies that they're choosing, they don't really benefit them. It's just when they acquire these apartment complexes, they're just like, give it over to me. Here's the money. Here's the transaction. And it might be a little bit more detailed than that. But from my aspect on it, I'm seeing their policies. It's the cheapest policy. And I can't tell them, hey, you can't expect to file a claim when you didn't purchase appropriate coverages. So if you're going to be cheap at the beginning, Don't expect your insurance company to pay you. And those are easier conversations to have before they were given hope that they could possibly get insurance to cover it.
Wow. Okay. So I guess this happens is that these investors go in, they're purchasing a property, and this is a business that they're purchasing
Mhm.
essentially. And so they're purchasing this. And are they thinking at the time, whenever they're purchasing it, that they could get an actual claim on previous damage, or what's their thinking
So
on that?
So like in Nebraska, I'm just going to use Nebraska because we have 5 years for our statute of limitations. So
Okay.
if someone
5
today is
years.
going to go
Wow.
buy, yeah,
That's
we got a good
crazy.
timeline. But let's say if they're going to go buy an apartment complex today and they're in an area of town that got smoked in 2022.
Mhm.
So during the acquisition, you always have someone do an inspection and they check the water, they checked the systems, the HVAC system, everything like that. They go around, they show you the nooks and crannies, the safety hazards, but they don't tell you about the roof and the condition of it. They don't
Really?
tell you, they'll say, look at a contractor. It's just the bare minimum.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
So if there's something that I can say, okay, they had a claim, they had a storm date. Let's say they have a storm date on June 7th of 2022. And the prior owners did not file a claim on it because they're not getting up on their roof. They're not looking
Sure.
around. They didn't see it. Okay. So now in the process of the sale, if the purchaser goes back and has us inspect it, we'll say, okay, this was the policy that they had. This is the storm that happened. This is the damage that had happened. So by that, you can get an assignment of the claim from the previous owner
Right. Assignment of
and
benefits. Okay.
and then continue to work it. And then whatever they choose to do, if they hold it back in escrow, whatever, there's so many solutions that they can do. I'm not a real estate agent, but I know that there's some really smart people that will make it work in the middle of the sale, but there's just money that's held back until the claim is finished. So that way, the seller isn't getting a quick buck off of the purchaser and making sure that they actually have a building that can be insured, making sure that they've
Hmm.
done everything that they're supposed to. I've heard here that there were apartment complexes that took money from an insurance claim, chose not to do the work, and
Wow.
then they're trying to sell it to someone really quick because they use all that insurance money. And it happens, but if you can go through that and you do a pre kind of investigation about the claims history of that place, or if there is an option for claims, or what if that roof was misinstalled? Usually a building inspector isn't going to be able to tell you that,
Really?
but we'll
Wow.
do partnerships with local contractors. Okay, is this sound? Is there a warranty on it? How long is the warranty? Okay, were there leaks? Who's your maintenance person? Let's talk about that. We're just having more transparency in these apartment places that it just makes it a little bit easier for one, the investors, but also the people living in it because I've heard of several people having to, and this is from the policyholder side of things. Well, I have loss of rents. Okay, you also have that human in there that maybe lost their contents, or
Right.
they're now being moved from their home. So yes, you also need to find them another place, but you need to do that right away, and then you can be reimbursed later on.
Wow. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. Yeah, there's just so much more to it all. It's like the human element. You're not actually thinking about that human, that person that's
Yeah.
sometimes a family as well that lives in this place. They just overlook them. But wow, there's so much more to it all. And
There's
I wanted
more.
to ask you about the policies. I'm sorry to cut you off there.
Oh,
I wanted to ask you about the policies on these commercial policies with the apartments. Whenever they're doing all these, like the roof inspection and everything like that, are they reviewing that policy, the insurance policy, to make sure that, hey, even though it was 2 or 3 years ago, or maybe 4 years ago, did they have adequate coverage at that time? Because
yeah.
if they didn't, then what good does it do to try to think you're going to get an AOB on that if they didn't have adequate coverage?
No. And there might be a talk where they didn't have adequate coverage. They need a new roof. Okay, then Mr. Seller, you're going to have to hold back that money because you're not going to pull a fast one on the next person because that's going to be denied later on regardless. So
Wow.
we're just making sure that one, we're investing into sound properties that you're going to have a return on, making sure that you have accurate coverage and appropriate endorsements for your policy, making sure that you can pay your deductible. If you have a $5,000 deductible, let's talk about that. Now, if you have a $5,000 deductible and I'm going to help you with supplementing, I might say, hey, you might want to make sure you talk to your policyholder about that deductible before you get them $20,000, $30,000. And then they're like, I want to keep this.
Yeah, I've heard that can happen as well, is that they get people react funny whenever they get a check for 30 or sometimes $140,000.
Yeah.
And so sometimes they'll do funny things or things that would be unexpected. I really like Archetype, but like this money better. I'm just going to go ahead and keep it.
And that is the other thing, is making sure that we are also educating these contractors on how, making sure that they're also getting paid, making sure that they're following up with their clients. So when you're partnering with Archetype, even if you're a policyholder or a contractor or something like that, we're going to be very transparent about everything. We're going to want to make sure that you're aware of the risks, the price at the end of the day, but also making sure that these contractors know that what they're entitled to, what they can do. As far as I know, like, one of the biggest complaints I get is, well, the money goes to the homeowner. I even being a contractor, I've never had to worry about the money, just because if you have submitting your W-9 to the insurance company and just asking, put me on as a joint payee, I don't care where that check goes. It just lets them know that my company also has a tie to this money. And so if somebody's signing the check, you're also signing it to me. So making sure that these contractors can strategically move forward, making sure that they're getting the money.
I know Ben that works in ink payments. I think that would be great because you're all these different subject matters, especially with the contractors. I got to be honest, I never knew about the difficulties that they go through on that side with the contractors having to, for instance, like a roofer or a renovation company, and they have to spend $60,000 or $100,000 rebuilding a home. The insurance company, most of the time, won't just be like, all right, here's a check for 100 grand. They control everything. And so they will control the flow of money. And sometimes that can cause some real difficulties with the contractors. They're like, look, I can't repair $100,000 roof when you gave me $10,000 or $20,000. This just won't happen. I can't get everything started to do that. So do you ever suggest that they try something like that? Or
so first things I usually tell these contractors is to send your W-9 to the insurance company and just say, hey, can you list me as a joint payee? That check is still going to get sent to the policyholder, just as every other check. The only difference is that if they cash that check, we're not talking about check fraud. and
if they can cash it, because a lot of banks won't just say, okay, here's, they'll all be listed on this check, correct?
Yeah. And usually you can't, because you have your mortgage company and everybody else. Right. But let's say it has to go to your mortgage company, or whatever hoops you have to jump through as a contractor to get that money to you as quickly as possible. One of the biggest things that can eliminate it is just getting their company put on the check. I know a lot of people will throw a fit. I want it to come to my office. No, that's not how this works, but you can be put on as a joint payee, making sure that everything comes through. Now, if you have ink, like I do, I like ink because, number one, everything is digital. You really shouldn't have to be dealing with any paper unless it's like a monitored claim, but they'll walk you through everything. One of the biggest things that I tell the contractors and the policyholder both, as a policyholder, they hate that time frame of waiting for a large check to post to their account, and then they want to get it out of their account as quickly as possible.
Really? Okay.
Just because that's a lot of money to hold on to. And there's a lot of people that would be worried about accidentally spending it. Or I've had people that are like, I don't want to accidentally spend it, but take it out of my account now. So if you have like Archetype or someone that uses ink, the check is going to come to your public adjuster first. So Archetype, it's going to have my name on it. It's probably going to have the homeowner's name. Sometimes it has the contractor's name on it, but let's say it doesn't. We can let the homeowner know that we'll upload it to Inc. and they can digitally create an account for it to be direct deposited to their account. Now, the other benefit is if they don't want to write a check to the contractor, we can also say, okay, homeowner would like all their contents and personal property to be paid out to them. They want
Right.
10% to go to Archetype, and they would like the rest to go to the contractor. And we can disperse those payments just like that. So that
Yeah.
way there's no question as to where the checks are going. It's direct deposited into your account. It happens immediately. You don't have to worry about waiting for a check to post. You don't have to deal with the paper part of it. So a lot of people like it just for that reason. But as a business, it keeps the check process going even when I'm not paying attention. Like even if we're dealing with a monitored claim, a claim payment with a mortgage company, they're going to do those follow-ups. They're going to say, okay, the mortgage company is asking for a letter of intent or a contract with a contractor. They're needing the insurance portion from the contractor. So there's a lot more that's actually needed when it comes to the mortgage company, and they're going to help facilitate that. They're going to walk you through it, and they're going to make sure that everything's done the correct way. I think when you're dealing with insurance money and other people's money, there can be a lot of room for error, and there's a lot of
Sure.
ways that people get in a lot of trouble when you get that much money in your hands.
Hmm.
Uh, I think Inc. eliminates all of that liability. I feel it's a liability.
No, you're right. Yeah.
But making sure that money is done legally, making sure that the appropriate people are signing it. Like with DocuSign, I feel like it's way easier, way more legitimate than actually having someone sign it because it
Right.
tracks your IP address, it tracks your email address. So you can confirm in multiple areas that this was this person that did all the work. I do appreciate Inc. a lot. I think that they do have some room to grow and just get bigger throughout all the mortgage companies. But so far, I'm really excited about them. And just having one thing taken off my plate is just amazing.
Yeah, definitely. Even for like you, and then also like for the contractors, because they have a lot of problems whenever they're trying to do all these jobs on it. And
Yeah.
like we're even saying on a monitored claim, I was just like, I cannot imagine how what a nightmare all this would be to try to get X number of dollars, a percentage of it, then another percentage of it. And you're like, Jesus, just give them the money so they can get the job done.
Even as a public adjuster, if you've got a monitored payment, claim payment with a mortgage company, they still might not pay you out directly. That's you're technically a contractor if you would ask me because
Right.
they signed my contract, so I'm doing service for them. But just because it didn't change the appearance of their house, sometimes they don't let out that money. So that's a little frustrating too.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just means that we get paid last or we have to go after those funds another way. But it does help out with just the conversation. And when you're always working on one thing, it's like the master of what is it? Jack of all trades, master of none, or master of none. There we go. They're just good at one thing. Like they're good at mortgage companies, they're good at checks. And so they know the routes to go through and the shortcuts to go through. They have connections with certain people at these mortgage companies. So they're going to be able to make things actually go through a little bit quicker and a little bit easier, but definitely legally is the best part.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? It just seems so, it's like this makes so much more sense
Mhm.
to use something like this. And it's like you're saying as well, like from the, I never thought of that, but some policyholders would actually feel uncomfortable. Okay, I've got a check for $145,000 sitting in my checking account. What do I do now? This just makes me itch. I don't know what to do. I'm afraid I'm going to spend it. But this eliminates all that. And it's okay, 6 people need to be paid, 6 different contractors, and then an archetype needs to be paid as well. So automatically distribute to all those different people. Maybe the homeowner needs to get paid a percentage of that as well from like contents, and it just distributes all the money simultaneously and quicker, might I add as well.
Yeah.
The whole process sounds just like a nightmare. We don't have to deal with that on the ALE side,
Mhm.
thankfully, because we get paid monthly and we get paid for cost rendered. So if we have a $10,000, $12,000 monthly rental, then we'll get paid every month for that.
Yeah.
But that it's just more. straightforward, as opposed to repairing a house where you're talking about a large sum of money and then they distribute this money out through different portions. It's just like, this doesn't good ideas, good intentions, but just a nightmare to from a construction side. I could only imagine trying to deal with that. Just wouldn't flow very well.
Yeah. And even my thing is I don't carry checks for my own personal
Right.
bank account. So I don't have to deal with going to the bank and asking for
Right.
a cashier's check to pay for my roof. It's all done with a link. I don't know if many contractors are able to send out links for payments, but I think this is an easier way. I will say that I've had some people concerned about setting up the account, but it's just like setting up a Venmo account, a PayPal account, and
Right.
it actually uses the same program as those. Even when I set it up myself, it was super easy. I had it done within 5-10 minutes. Inc. was really good about calling me, making sure that I wasn't having any issues with it. So like they're on
Wow.
the ball throughout the entire thing. And I was like, hey, I'm still avoiding you. I have all these other things to do. But then I got a text, oh, you're good. You can put in your payments now. I was like, okay, thank you. But so far, I've worked with Inc. for the last 3 years, and there's a reason why I keep advocating for them and keep referring them out, because I do think that it takes a huge weight off of this industry. Even if you're in construction, if you're in public adjusting, it does take a lot of the weight off of your accounting person or whoever's doing that check follow-up.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, excellent. Archetype. I definitely think that you guys are really going to go a lot of places. I have a lot of admiration and respect for what you do and how you go about doing it as well. Do you have anything else to add? Do you want to talk about the future, kind of where you guys are going towards, and are you going to take over?
Yeah, we're quietly taking over right now. So we are available in, I want to say close to 15 states. So we've got a good spread. Yeah, I handle most of the Midwest. We've got people in Texas, Oklahoma,
Wow.
Florida. So I've got a couple of people
Wow.
around here that have claims. We've got a large following in Texas and Oklahoma. So
Mhm.
that's great. Oklahoma's gotten smashed every other day, I swear.
True. Very true.
So we're definitely growing. We're trying to get more into the space of helping people before the storm,
Mhm.
making sure that they have appropriate coverages. And then I'm hoping that we'll be able to make um, the insurance process just a little bit easier, whether or not if it's the insurance company calling us saying, get this claim done. I don't know. Or if
Sure.
it's a policyholder saying, I got a denial letter, I don't understand what it says, or I got an engineer report, I don't understand what it means. It can be anything that you have a question on with a claim. Give us a call. We'll help you figure it out. We'll help you navigate through it. We'll help you find the resources that you need to get to your end goal. In the next couple of years, you'll see us definitely expand. I still want to stay pretty small, but I'm always looking for other public adjusters throughout the country and just growing with everybody and making sure that we're doing things the right way.
Very good. Very good. I'm very impressed. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys around the country expanding out.
You'll be seeing us at some conference shows for sure. I know that we have a couple coming up. I think SRS is probably going to be one of the ones that I'm going to be trying to hit up next winter. January
Okay.
is usually when it is.
Okay. Excellent. Tristan, it was really nice talking with you. Maybe I'll have you on in the near future whenever you're on a major news station or something like that. You never know what's going to happen, but yeah, I definitely look forward to talking to you again.
Yes, you too. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Tristan.
Bye.
Hi, this is Caleb Owens with Premier Insurance Housing. Do you need help with ALE or temporary housing for your policyholders or clients? If so, we would love to help out. We offer a wide range of services, and we offer our services nationwide. We offer mobile homes and fifth wheels to single-family homes and apartments. To request our services, just click the link in the description or give us a call, 405-604-0786.